Hello and welcome to Why Wasn't It Better? I am your host, Patrick Darms.
And I am your co-host, Anton Paras.
And on this episode, we're heading back to a galaxy far, far away, but not to the Skywalkers, not to the Force, and not to the fate of the Republic, sort of. No, we're talking about the prequel nobody asked for, nobody needed, and somehow cost over $300 million to make. It's Solo, a Star Wars story brought to you by Disney, TM. It's the origin story of Han Solo, a character whose entire appeal was what we didn't know his origin. The smuggler, the scoundrel, a guy who shot first. Did we really need to see how he got his last name, or how he met Chewie, or how he won the Falcon? Or was the mystery the whole point? Plagued by behind-the-scenes drama, director firings, and a box office that sends shockwaves through Star Wars, Solo became the first true theatrical stumble for the franchise. So the question isn't whether it's a disaster, it's whether it justified its own existence. And here to strap in and punch it and help to figure us out is a return guest on his third episode, which means he's a serious guest at this point, Adam Hecht. Welcome back.
Thank you, gentlemen. Punch. You say punch it. I punched the pillow that I was sitting on when I was watching this quite a few times. Give you all a hint on how I feel about this, but yeah, I mean, the last two times I was on, we talked about movies that kind of had a special place, I think, for all of us, and movies that we thought probably should have done better. It's going to be interesting to see how we all feel about this one. Your intro, Pat, didn't give us much hope for...
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually do this, but I will begin this episode with a disclaimer. If you like this movie, or if you're one of those Star Wars fans that blindly just defends everything on the franchise, you're going to want to shut this off, right?
Yeah, that's a good disclaimer, because it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, this is one of the worst movies I think we've ever reviewed on the pod.
Certainly the worst of the three that I've reviewed. It's
yeah, this was really tough. I'll intro this and then we can kind of go from there.
All right.
Solo was released on the 25th of May, 2018 by Lucasfilm. It was distributed by Disney. It was directed by Ron Howard with a massive asterisk on that. The screenplay was written by Jonathan Kasdan and Lawrence Kasdan. It stars Alden Ehrenreich, Woody Harrelson, Emilia Clarke, Donald Glover, Thandie Newton, or Thandie Newton. She changed her name at some point. Who cares? Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Junice Sutanmo, and Paul Bettany. The budget was $300 to $365 million. Adjusted for inflation, that is $388 to $472 million. And the box office was only $393 million. That is $503 million adjusted for inflation. It has a 69% Rotten Tomato score. That's generous. Adam, why'd you want to appear on Solo and talk Solo?
Okay, so I am, or I was, one of those people who would have blindly defended Star Wars, right, for the longest time. I love the original trilogy. I actually love the prequel trilogy. I got great memories, tons of fun with those movies. I obviously love Clone Wars, not the movie, not the movie, the series, right? Rebels, all of that. And, you know, I think enough of my friends talk badly about the sequel trilogy. And again, I didn't like it. I don't think the sequel trilogy is very good. I don't think enough people talk about how bad Solo was in the overall everything that is Star Wars. And, you know, I didn't see it in the theater. The first time I saw it was, you know, when it was streaming on Disney Plus. But from that first time, I said, this is the worst, hands down the worst Star Wars. And people just seem to not talk about it. And not like Avatar, right? Where they don't talk, they've seen it, but they don't talk about it. I don't know who has seen this out of my friend group. I don't know who has not seen it. Nobody talks about it. I want to talk about it. I want people to know how bad I think it is.
Well, not a lot of people saw it when it came out. I mean, it lost a lot of money.
And I know, like, we were talking about this earlier, like, it's sandwiched between two very different blockbusters that are also related to Disney, right? Infinity War and Deadpool. But, like, it should have fit right in there with these massive blockbusters. And it was it didn't, right? As we said, you actually hit on something earlier, Pat, that I didn't that it didn't dawn on me, but like they talk a lot about all of Han's history, any one of them, how he met Chewie, how he got the Falcon, his first hijinks with Lando, any of that could have been a great movie. I know what you mean, but like any of that could have been a movie that was more fleshed out than this, but and I know we'll get into this, but there's just there's too much in here. And I think that's kind of why I want to get through this, because I love Han Solo. I love Harrison Ford as an actor. Han was and is one of my top characters in any fictional franchise, but he was done dirty here. Very, very dirty.
Well, I don't know about the two of you, but I was really excited to know how those dice got in the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, well.
And I'm so glad that
it's
this
good.
film addressed that.
It's the right level of detail.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank goodness they were here to tell us that. Well, I know what you mean to a point. Like, Han Solo is a great character, but I was talking about this with Anton at one point. It's like, I just don't know who was excited for this.
Right.
We all grew up Star Wars fans. The three of us are old enough to remember when Star Wars was just the three original films. Like, we remember the Star Wars franchise before the prequels even happened. Anton, I don't recall ever having a conversation with anyone in my life. Gee, I hope they would make a Han Solo movie.
I usually would imagine much more stupid scenarios in my head, like, wow, I wonder when they're gonna bring back Boba Fett and give him a lightsaber. Is literally what I thought about as a kid.
I wonder how much of that is because Han was he was cool enough.
Yeah,
he was cool enough. What more did we need to know about Han? He shot first. He's the best pilot in the galaxy, and he said, "I know." When Leia said, "You don't need to get any cooler. He's good. Leave him alone." I don't think anyone needed it.
And I think we can now safely say you can attribute that to Harrison Ford. It's the same thing if they ever try to reboot Indiana Jones. Good luck with that. You're not filling Harrison Ford's shoes. Yes, I understand they did the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. That was a TV show. It also didn't last that long. Yes, I understand that River Phoenix had played young Indiana Jones in the intro of Last Crusade, but that was an intro of a movie that lasted 10 minutes.
But that was also all I needed.
That's all you needed.
Like, you get his dad makes him count in Greek. You find out how he gets the hat and the whip. Good.
Cool.
We're good.
Speaking of Harrison Ford, did you guys see? It was a recent paparazzi photo of him just walking around at the ripe old age of 82.
Gotta be on steroids, right?
He just looks so good.
He's jacked.
He looks. Yeah, he does not look 82.
I mean, he strikes me as the type of guy who's just unbothered by anything, right? Like, he made all of this money. He owns a ranch in Wyoming and just flies helicopters and mini planes around, and occasionally records the that series on Apple TV with Jason Segel, Shrinking, which he's also phenomenal.
And he gets to just ask his agent, "So I get to be a Hulk, and how many millions do I make?"
Right. How many zeros are on that check? Great.
When he's not flying aircraft, we know he's high all the time.
Yep, it's very, very clear.
Is there really any better life that? And if that was my life, vibing and being high, I'd probably look pretty good at 82.
He's doing a lot of things right.
Not being involved with this movie is probably one of them.
It might be the best decision he ever made. I could see him also being unaware this even exists. Like, what? There was a Solo movie? Like, huh?
And he would be as bewildered as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always been one of the most detached when it comes to Star Wars fandom.
Not just Star Wars fandom, anything.
Yeah, it's actually, reality detached from reality.
Well, before we get into the production history of this in the interest of time, we, of course, have to cover the 6 degrees of Warren Beatty's sex life, which is the prevailing theory that all films can be connected via the sexual conquests of Warren Beatty. This film is no exception. Woody Harrelson is our connector here by way of Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson, and 3 different women. So Woody Harrelson starred in Indecent Proposal with Demi Moore. There's a 90s throwback for you.
That's a crazy movie.
Crazy movie. She was in A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was in Mars Attacks with Annette Bening, who married Warren Beatty, and they are still married to this day. Now, Nicholson also dated Michelle Phillips and Diane Keaton, not at the same time, both of whom dated Warren Beatty. possibly at the same time, because Warren Beatty did that. So
Every
we have
time
a few different ones.
Every time I talk to you guys, I learn something that makes me respect Warren Beatty simultaneously a little bit more and a little bit less. So well done.
Exactly right.
Well,
Well
what
done.
was it I learned the other night? Warren Beatty betted Connie Chung.
Oh, I sent you that, right?
Yeah.
So
What a universe.
Wow.
you know how Connie Chung is married to Maury Povich, and Maury Povich, they're on a podcast together, and he just starts talking to me. He's like, "You had fun when you were a celebrity." He's like, you banged Warren Beatty, and she's just like, "Yeah, it's in the book." And he's just like, "Well, you know what my sister said?" He's like, "Any woman that moved to California had to go through Warren Beatty. It was like an immigration policy."
Apparently. Good Lord.
It's no wonder he didn't make a lot of films. He was too busy.
Pretty busy. Yeah.
Yeah, busy guy.
Busy guy.
All right, production history for Solo, a Star Wars story, brought to you by Disney. So this goes back to the pre-Disney acquisition of the franchise. Shortly before selling out to Disney, George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy met with Lawrence Kasdan about relaunching the franchise, and they presented him with 9 film ideas. They devised sketches by Lucas himself, and they included, so a new sequel trilogy was one of the ideas, along with various spin-offs. This was one of them. But Kasdan wasn't sure if he wanted to make movies, even though the story about Han Solo was the one that inspired him the most. So Lucas commissioned him to write the screenplay. After Lucas sold out to Disney in 2012, Kasdan was hired to help finish the script for The Force Awakens, leaving his son Jonathan in charge of writing Solo. In February of 2013, Disney CEO Bob Iger confirmed the development of 2 standalone films. In July, it was revealed that one of them would be a Han Solo origin story, and it was going to be released in 2018. The film was supposed to be released after The Force Awakens, but the temporary departure of Kasdan led to the first development of the spin-off called Rogue One, which came out in 2016. It would be directed by, this film, of course, Solo, was going to be directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller from a script developed by the Kasdans. Emery Cohen, Scott Eastwood, Ansel Elgort, Dave Franco, Blake Jenner, Logan Lerman, Jack Rayner, and Miles Teller were all considered for the role of Han Solo. Other actors that auditioned included Charlie Cox, Tom Felton. Tom Felton, is that Malfoy? Harry Potter?
That is Malfoy.
Yeah, I know. Is that believable? I mean, is any of this believable? Colton Haynes, Luke Hemsworth, Leo Howard, Anthony Ingruber, Landon Laborian. Sorry, I don't know who half these people are.
Landon Calrissian.
I'm doing the best I can here. Rami Malek, I know him. Jack O'Connell, Tony Aller, Glenn Powell, Chandler Riggs, Nick Robinson, Joshua Sassy, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Max Theroux, and Ed Westwick. Some of these sound like basketball players. Landon Laborian, he's a power forward.
Number
Or
5.
like ChatGPT, hey ChatGPT, give me a list of actors that could have played. It just hallucinates 60% of them.
I mean, I started with Wikipedia, so I don't know. Take this with a grain of salt. The list was then narrowed down to Taron Egerton, I know him, Alden Ehrenreich, and Raynor. One word, Raynor? Or no, it's somebody else. I don't know. Doesn't matter. He didn't get the role. In 2016, it was announced that Ehrenreich had won the role. Christian Bale was in discussions for the role that eventually went to Woody Harrelson.
Ooh, it could have been.
Filming began in January 2017 at Pinewood Studios, and additional filming took place in Italy, with locations including Tre Cime di Lavaredo and Monte Piana in the Dolomites in Veneto, to the Fassa Dolomites in Trentino, as well as the Canary Islands. On January 2017, Lucasfilm announced that Lord and Miller had left the project, citing creative differences, and that a new director would be sought. The decision to remove Lord and Miller was made after a short hiatus in filming taken to review the footage so far. It was reported that the directors were fired after Kennedy and Kasdan disagreed with their shooting style. Lord and Miller believed they were hired to make a comedy film, while Lucasfilm was looking for the duo only to add a comedic touch. Lucasfilm also felt the directors were encouraging too much improvisation from the actors, which was believed to be shifting the story off course from the Kasdan's script. To appease Kasdan, who was unhappy with scenes not being filmed, quote, word for word, end quote, Lord and Miller shot several takes exactly as written, then shot additional takes. Lord and Miller refused to compromise on certain scenes, such as filming a scene from fewer angles than Lucasfilm expected, thereby reducing the options available in editing. The duo were also unhappy when Kasdan was brought to the London set, feeling he had become a shadow director. The original editor, Chris Dickens, was also fired and replaced by Pietro Scalia. Ron Howard emerged as the frontrunner to take over. He had previous experience working with Lucasfilm in 1988 when he directed Willow, and had previously turned down an offer to direct The Phantom Menace. Joe Johnston and Kasdan were also considered, though in regards to Kasdan, Directors Guild of America rules state that a replacement for a director may not be someone who already involved in the production. 2 days later, it was announced that Howard would take over directing the remaining 3.5 weeks of scheduled principal photography, as well as the scheduled 5 weeks of reshoots. And during the reshoots, Michael K. Williams was unable to return, resulting in his part being redeveloped and recast with Paul Bettany. Bettany, who previously worked with Howard on A Beautiful Mind and The Da Vinci Code, had heard of the director's involvement with the film and texted him to inquire into joining the film. Lucas, Howard's friend, mentor, and collaborator, made a surprise visit to the set to encourage Howard on his first day of shooting. Intended as a short meeting, Lucas spent the whole day with the crew, and while Lucas had not meant to interfere, at some point he forgot and asked, "Why doesn't Han just do this?" Howard included his suggestion. Filming was completed in October 2017. Howard reshot around 70% of the finished film. Lord Miller did not challenge for director's credit and instead agreed to executive producer credits. And longtime Star Wars composer John Williams composed and conducted the Han Solo theme, The Adventures of Han, for the film, and the rest of the score was composed by John Powell.
Why doesn't Han just do this? As always, we want to thank you for listening. If you're liking the pod and you haven't done so, like, subscribe, follow, leave comments, give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening or watching. We're on social media platforms, Instagram, X, and best of all, Letterboxd. That's the great place to follow us. We've noticed an uptick in our Letterboxd listeners, or followers, I should say. So clearly this messaging is working. And, we just want to thank everybody for promoting our content, suggesting our content, and recommending our content to others. And of course, if you really like what we are doing and you want to throw a few bucks our way, we have a Patreon. You can become a patron and get access to episodes a week early and ad-free, plus bonus content. Links to everything are in the description. Looks like Anton walked away for a second.
He
left something in the... he's just disgusted with this film.
That's
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have walked away during the several times I watched this, I'm always telling you, like the last time when usually when I join, I try to watch the movie a few times right ahead of the pod, and like the last time I was watching this, I couldn't get through it again. I had to stop it and just walk away because I was done with it. I was done. There's just so much, not to get into it already, but like there's so many potential cool things that could have happened that didn't. So much wrong with the visuals of the movie, and I know we're going to talk about it all, but yeah, so many opportunities.
Like therapy for us.
It is. Again, I love Han Solo, a huge Star Wars fan. This is bad.
Well, let's start. Let's talk about why wasn't it better. And I want to start with the change in directors, because that's like the biggest sticking point about this movie. Lord and Miller were fired. They're replaced by Ron Howard. He has to reshoot 70% of the film. I have to say, if I had never known about the change in directors, I don't think this is a Richard Donner versus Richard Lester situation on Superman 2. For all of this film's flaws, and there are many, and we're going to talk about them, this is a complete coherent film. I didn't feel like there were scenes shot between two different sets of directors.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah,
I was going to say, when you say coherent,
we're playing fast and loose with the term coherent, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't feel like two directors stitched their visions together to get this, right? It feels like one movie all the way through, for sure.
Yes.
But it's also, right, like, there's nothing of, at least to me, there's almost nothing of Ron Howard in this to me. Like, it doesn't feel like a Ron Howard movie, right? If you were to tell me, like, Lord Miller was like, after them, it was some guy who directed it, I'd be like, yeah, sure, makes sense. But yeah, this doesn't feel like a Ron Howard film at all.
No, if it was a Ron Howard film, it would have a talking pie that would go back in time.
Right. That's a nice reference there.
Now, that being said, I think the original directing hire just speaks to the incompetence of this film's inception, like to begin with. I don't understand the hire in the first place. Star Wars is not supposed to be a comedy. that
Right.
Lord and Miller are known for. By the way, I like Lord and Miller's other work. Like, I like 22 Jump Street. I like the Lego
Mhm.
movie. I know Project Hail Mary. I haven't seen it yet, but it's getting rave reviews. But it's like Star Wars to me seems it just seems like a strange hire for a Star Wars movie.
I think more so like if a director has a specific vision but the studio has a different vision and they never properly communicated
Right.
up to the point where there's a firing, like that's just not a good place to be. Whatever the vision's director is, that's the prerogative. But lack of communication to get to this point, I think, is a hallmark, and we see it all throughout the Star Wars timeline.
Yeah, what were they thinking with the Lord and Miller? It's just they hire them, then more than halfway through filming, they just fire them because they don't like the direction they're going. It's like, what did you expect from
They're
them?
like-
I
they're like,
don't
this
get
is-
it.
Kathleen Kennedy, I would say, also we're not throwing her name around a bit too much quite yet, but there's a lot behind the scenes, especially going into that firing, that you can definitely point to her. I don't want to call it just template, as it feels like, but there's a lot at stake with this film, and I think a rash decision like that is we have to move in a different direction quickly, and that comes from Kennedy.
I wonder if more stuff is going to come out in the coming years about, like, apparently you hire the guys who made 21 Jump Street and then you got surprised by the direction they were taking your project, and it doesn't add up to me.
It also doesn't add up to me, right, that there was this, like, you don't hire them and not try to go funny. And I can I can make a shaky dotted line from a buddy cop movie like 21 Jump Street to what Han and Chewie could potentially have done. Right? Like, if there was like a vision there that we don't know about, cool, maybe, right? But I think, and this is, Kathleen Kennedy gets tons of hate, tons of blame for the sequel trilogy. And quite honestly, I don't think she gets enough. I don't think she gets enough for what she's done with Star Wars.
I love that.
I don't. I don't think, and like, I am one of the very first people to say, all right, Star Wars nerds, calm down, everybody. It's still just a movie, right? But like, she did a lot of bad things with a franchise that is very important for right or wrong reasons, right, to a lot of people. And this is more so than the entirety of the sequel trilogy, right? Like, everything wrong with Kathleen Kennedy's 10 years of being in charge of Star Wars is kind of encompassed in this film. Just lack of a clear vision for what she wants to make, right? Which I think is very telling with who she hired for the directors. You have a clear vision that you want this to be action with a tinge of comedy, some heart to it. Why do you go with those guys then, right? Like, did you think you could control them? Was that what it was going to be? Like, no, you hired two people who were very good at doing this one particular style of movie, and then you don't want them to make that movie? It's bizarre. And I think that comes down to her. I don't think that's on Lucas. I don't think that's on the Kasdans, and we'll get to the Kasdans, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's on Kathleen Kennedy, 100%.
It is. And Ron Howard's done a lot of great stuff prior to this. I don't blame this too much on Ron Howard. I think he did the best he could. Being asked to reshoot 70% of a film is quite a task, no matter who you are as a filmmaker. You're totally right, though, that like you would never know this is a Ron Howard movie. He's a very competent filmmaker. I would say he's also very visually conservative. And one of my biggest problems with this movie, which I guess you kind of have to blame somewhat on Ron Howard, in addition to the directors he replaced, is, and we are hardly the first people to bring this up, pretty much any review you read of this film, they're going to mention how bizarrely dark the cinematography is. It is dark to the point where 15 minutes into the film, I thought there was something wrong with my TV settings. It was so dark. And that continued throughout the pretty much any interior scene in the film. And it had to have been a deliberate decision on their part, I suppose.
I mean, to me, like, the heist scene it's dark gray. That was how I described it. Dark gray. Like, I get that it's kind of Twilight and you're out, everyone's wearing drab colors, but I had a hard time seeing who was who and what was going on when there were a lot of characters on screen during a heist scene. That's the first big action centerpiece of the movie. outside of the gang chase.
I found this tweet about the movie, and they said it's like the movie is like every interior scene is filmed like it's under a broken light bulb.
That's so good. And you can't really point to films released around that same time as having the same similar lighting. It's just, you don't see it. This really was a stylistic decision for the film.
It had to have been. Like, there's no way they couldn't have known about this, right? Like, they knew what they were doing. I don't think any of the set pieces are particularly great. I mean, I guess the train heist is probably the best one because it's supposed to be outdoors, so it's at least lit well. I like a train heist in really any movie, whether it be a Western or this, which is like a pseudo-Western. But then you get to the one of the climactic set pieces, which is when they're on Kessel and when they're in the mines, and then it's just this weird blinking light effect that they had going on the whole time. It was driving me crazy.
I don't want to get started on the Kessel Run just yet. I have thoughts. But yeah, I hear you. It's like, it's space. It's dark. We all get it. But that weird strobing, that weird in and out of it, I shouldn't have to work, right, to see most of the movie, right? I shouldn't have to work that hard. I shouldn't have to get closer to listen, my eyes are bad, right? Like, these glasses are pretty thick, but like, I shouldn't have to get closer to my TV to try to make out what's going on.
This is the only film I've ever watched since I bought this TV, a 4K TV, by the way, like several years ago, where I thought about adjusting the brightness settings. I was confused. I was like,
Big deal.
What's wrong? Like, what's going on? I can't blame the DP. The cinematographer is Bradford Young. He's a very talented guy. If you've ever seen Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, he shot that film, which is like really well filmed. So it's like, yeah. I can't blame him. He's also worked with Jordan Peele, shot a couple of his films. He shot, have either of you seen A Most Violent Year? It's like the super underrated drama starring Oscar Isaac.
Never saw that.
I really, really highly recommend that. It's set in like 1970s New York. It's like this gritty kind of like thriller drama anyway. But yeah, he shot that. So like, I was looking at it like, who filmed this? What other work that they did? This is definitely the outlier. So it had to have been a deliberate choice on the filmmaker's part to make everything this dark.
God, the air of disappointment is so palpable amongst us. Right
it is. It's just like, I don't. With a lot of the storytelling choices that we're going to talk about, which were like war crime-esque, you don't even have to fall back on like, oh, at least it looked good. At least it was well filmed. No, not even that.
It wasn't well filmed. It doesn't look good. I think you might have said this to me, Pat, like when we were talking about like the initial reactions to the movie, right? It's boring. Everything about the movie is boring. Yeah. There was nothing for me to like focus on. I can't be interested in the lighting. I can't be interested in the acting. I can't be interested in the story. I can't be interested in the cinematography or the set pieces or the sound design. There was nothing for me to like latch onto and say, I can get at least this. Right. Anton earlier before we started recording was the one who was like, hey, well, at least we got some of the storylines for Smuggler's Run, the ride out of this movie. And I was like, okay, well, there it was. The first only silver lining. Yeah, the first only silver lining.
One positive. And I think it isn't, we aren't quite at the reason yet, which, the story, I have a lot of things wrong with the story as well. But I think if you can't get it right to properly get audience motivation and investment in what our characters are doing, or really getting a good feel for the stakes, which again, I really wasn't getting a good sense of that, or even just the relationships of every character didn't make sense. Once you don't get that, any scenes that should be tension filled just feel flat. And not only do they feel flat, they look terrible.
Well, let's get into that then, the story, because that's the next reason why this wasn't better. I think this will be probably the lengthiest reason. I brought this up before. All of the attention seems to be on the fact that Lord and Miller got fired. Ron Howard replaced them. The Kazdans do not get nearly enough blame for this. I cannot believe they wrote this. This is one of the laziest written blockbusters I have ever seen. Considering they worked on this for years, it's basically like they rewatched the original trilogy and they just made a checklist of everything we get to know about Han Solo, and they wrote it into their script to just wedge it into, like, they wanted to wedge every single little bit of trivia into Han Solo's origin story, which, by the way, this takes place after the time jump of, 3 years? This takes place over the course of like a week, maybe
Mm-hmm.
a few days,
Which
not long.
Not long.
And
He
everything we know and learn about Han over the original trilogy, well, that's it. He had one adventure over the course of a week, and that defined who he was forever.
And you know what really I think sucks about the film with that story is you don't really learn about his motivation at all. You don't really see him change as a character at all. So you don't really get anything. You don't really learn anything new about him because, again, no one else around him really grows. Like, I mean, the whole fake romance storyline is one of the most baffling things I've ever seen in a film. And when I call it the fake romance storyline, because that's the only way I can label it, with Darth Emilia Clarke.
She's terrible.
Like you're Han, and you have this plan with someone you love to escape this horrible upbringing, or this orphan life that you have, and you watch her get snatched away from you at the very last minute, and you know she's going to get back and get punished and be forced to live a life of slavery, and you're just like, well, off to the army for me.
He's just okay. He's like, all right, well, I guess it's okay. Like,
and then when he sees her and recognizes her out of nowhere 3 years later, right? Which, by the way, 3 years is not enough to grow from from young Han to Erlenreich, but that's besides the point. You have this reunion that takes place, and no emotion, there's no sense of what happened to you. How did you get out? Like, it's horrendous. And not for nothing, I would have loved to see more about Lady Proxima, right? What an interesting, fun-looking character she was with her 18 seconds of screen time. I would love to know more about like how that creature ran an orphan ring of thieves and smugglers, but I guess I never will because I don't care enough to go back to that universe anymore.
Yeah, I was really curious how she escaped from being a sand dune on Arrakis.
The whole mechanics of their armor system is also just quite perplexing.
Well,
is this the most fan service movie we've ever seen?
Easily.
Yeah.
What would even compete?
Just about.
I mean, Anton likes it, but I mean, Rogue One I think is horrendous.
I love Rogue One.
I like Rogue One. Let me rephrase. I think Rogue One is fine, and I think Rogue One is kind of what I was saying earlier about what could have been with Solo, because, like, okay, Rogue One is telling an encapsulated story. The X amount of time, how do we get the Death Star plans, right? That's the question that Rogue One sets out to answer, right? If Solo had set out to say, how did Han get the Millennium Falcon? Cool. Maybe that gives you a better movie. Mm-hmm. How did Han get his original blaster? How did Han get his cool jacket? How did Han get his dice?
No, and I see what you're saying. This film was less about a coherent storyline, more than it was a film about follow Han Solo along for an adventure, see what happens. Maybe he falls in love, maybe he doesn't. Hey, do you remember the dice? Hey, do you remember?
Nobody remembered the dice.
No. But like, that's the question. Hey, do you remember this? Right, like that's it. This movie hits me over the head with, hey, remember this? Over and over again,
which used sparingly is really enjoyable in like larger film. Like Marvel films do this all the time, and little things that do callbacks and winks to the audiences, which are fan service, but it will be enjoyable. It's what it's for. But used as an entire film as just fan service with no proper plot, that's just insufferable. It's just boring.
Was this a payday for the Kazdans? Is that all it was for them? Like, that's how I can think about it.
It had to have been.
Yeah, right? Because they
literally made a checklist, and they're like, okay, he met Chewie. He wins the Falcon in a card game. We should have him wear a vest because he wears a vest in the original trilogy. Let's put him in a vest in this one. He'll have the same clothes. They're just going down a checklist.
They should have might as well just gone down the whole gauntlet. And at some point in the film, he sees the store on the Outer Rim that's selling vests, and he's like, "Ooh, I'd look really good in that." Because that's how the film felt.
That would have been preferable, honestly, to him just like, oh, look, he's wearing the same thing he wears 10 years later in A New Hope.
Same thing. Yep.
Yeah, how cool is that, right? Like,
And in A New Hope, he's working for Jabba the Hutt. So we should end this film with a setup for Jabba the Hutt.
mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the time gap between this and A New Hope? Like
10 years.
10 years.
Okay, it's 10 years. So he's working for Jabba the whole time. Nothing else
Yep.
happens.
He's smuggling for Jabba for 10 years.
I still
Until he
think,
owes
Rogue,
him
I
money
still
at
think
the-
Rogue One is a fan film, by the way. No one can tell me otherwise.
That's fine. You can think whatever you like in your reality, Pat.
I mean, it literally was made by a guy who was like, what happened to the Death Star plans? That's a fan film. It's a more successful fan film than this, but it's a fan film.
But I think it's also less heavy-handed than this. It's so much less heavy-handed than this to me. Like you said, I like your analogy of the checklist because that is what it... Okay, what do fans want to see? Falcon, Chewie, Lando, other stuff, right? Like, you know what I mean? That's what they want. I was half expecting when... what's his name? What's Woody Harrelson's character? Beckett. He's sitting there with Chewie on the Falcon, and they're playing chess. I was half expecting Chewie to rip off his arm. You know, because that one throwaway line from Han,
right.
like, at that point, you know, that would have been the icing on the cake right there. They're like, oh, well, that's how he knows that Wookiees rip off people's arms.
It would have been more interesting than how Beckett's character dies in this film.
But he shot first, Pat. He shot first.
It's really interesting, and or at least when I look at the timeline of films released and fan sentiment after them, I think it really does push the writers as well as just the producers to try to hard pivot, but they went the wrong direction. So I'm really just referencing the fact, you know, The Last Jedi comes out in 2017. A year before it, you get Rogue One. So Rogue One, you get a really successful version of let's tug on fans' heartstrings with the original series. The Last Jedi follows very closely along those same lines of, well, let's give them more member berries. They're going to really love it when we bring back Luke Skywalker. But that's not what happened, of course. Like, there was a lot of, you know, a lot of people questioning what's going on once you get The Last Jedi and the film that's released. And then very quickly, almost feeling like it's almost an afterthought, you get Solo released a year right after. So you have, not only do you have a bit of, maybe a little bit of fatigue, but you also get doubling down in an area where fans are already feeling a bit fatigued by all the nostalgia.
Like 6 months after The Last Jedi was.
Yeah,
it was like
way
right
too
after.
much. So it doesn't shock me that the story, not only is it not a story, it's also investing the wrong aspects. So it just shows me the studios aren't really learning. It's not about the fan service. You need proper story, and this film did not have proper story.
No, this is like watching a Han Solo tribute band.
Yeah,
It really is.
yeah. It's like I feel like tribute band gives it almost too much credit, because tribute bands can be fun. To me, this feels like an animatronic, band at like a Chuck E. Cheese. Is just completely soulless.
Charles Entertainment Cheese.
It's not just boring. So I watched this a couple times to prepare for this. I don't know why I punished myself, but I'm committed to my own podcast. That's why. That's the excuse. It's not just boring. It weirdly contradicts the Han Solo that we got to know in the original trilogy in a number of different ways.
Well, the fact that he wanted to give away his, you know, the money and the coaxium, like, that is like, that was the immediate thing that jumped out to me was like, well, hold on. One of the key things about Han in A New Hope is that he couldn't care less
He's a
about
mercenary. Pure mercenary.
Yeah,
money. I don't care about the rebellion. Hey, princess, that's awesome that you're doing that. Don't care. I'm not going to risk my neck for you. He meets Enfys Nest, and all of a sudden is like, oh, what a great cause you guys are having. Let's give up our portion of the money to Enfys. Like, no. Like,
Also, sidebar, bad name, Enfys Nest, stupid name.
yeah.
but yeah, no, completely undermines his character. It's degrades the character, honestly. If that canonizes that he gives to charity,
Right. And if he did it, and then Enfys Nest betrayed him and killed... There's a million ways it could have gone. But they're trying to portray him as this altruistic, selfless, good guy, and that is not Han Solo. Not, at least not the Han Solo we meet in A New Hope.
Right. He becomes a better person over the course of the Empire, the first film, and then Into the Empire Strikes Back when he stays with them.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think with proper writing, you include a detail like that, and I think it can become a positive. Like, okay, so hear me out. Let's say you do want to introduce a Han Solo character that's younger, not as experienced, a bit of a rebel, but he has a heart of gold. Sure. People are going to be like, what he gives to charity, that's so annoying. But over the course of the film, you see him become more jaded. You see life get thrown at him, and you get the badass Han Solo that does not care because of everything that life has thrown at him. Mm-hmm. That's one way to have the story move forward. But that's not, of course, what happens in reality. Instead, you just get a lot of confusing aspects about his character that don't develop. It's just more like, it's like you have a backpack and you have all these stickers on the back, or like all these pins on the backpack now that just tell you about his character. It's just, they're just there.
It's got to be hard to write a prequel like this or an origin story like this, because you have to simultaneously be entertaining and be true to who that, because you know what the character becomes, but more than that, you know what they are when you first meet them, right? I'm not a writer, so to me, like, being able to juggle all of that is insane and almost impossible. But to the Kazdans, come on, that should be elementary for them, right? They're right. Not to mention the fact that, Pat, that says a lot, but that's how it should be. User professional, extremely well paid writers. You mean to tell me that you didn't remember that Han was a jaded, out for himself mercenary at the start of A New Hope? It's wild. It's ridiculous. And it's insulting, quite frankly, to like fans. That's insulting. To portray Han as someone that he is portrayed as in this film is, I'm taking myself very seriously when I say it's insulting, but it's insulting.
No, it is. I know what you mean. Are either of you familiar with Han Solo's original expanded universe backstory?
He was a veteran, right? Like he was part of the Empire.
Yes, he was a pilot. He was a captain in the Imperial Navy.
There we go.
And this makes a hell of a lot more sense than whatever sad excuse for a script the Kazdans came up with for this film. So he was like this rising star in the Imperial Navy. He was the youngest captain in the history of the Imperial Navy or something. So he was like this really promising rising star. He throws away his entire career because he has like this biblical Moses moment. He sees a slave driver beating a Wookiee to death and rescues the Wookiee, who becomes Chewbacca. And he quits the Imperial Navy and can't find work and decides to use his skills as a pilot to become a smuggler. That is a far more interesting backstory to me than this.
I would have loved to watch that movie.
And it was there sitting for them to use. That was just available to them and they didn't use it.
I think, wouldn't it just be too easy? Like,
right.
You'd think.
But isn't that also a Kathleen Kennedy thing right there, to decanonize the extended universe, right? For Star Wars.
I hate Disney so much for buying Star Wars, but one of the reasons, the biggest reason I hate it the most is they made a point to retcon the entire expanded universe, right? As soon as they bought it, they were like, okay, all that stuff is now decanonized. But now they're doing the laziest thing imaginable, which is they're starting to cherry pick from it. They're like, Admiral Thrawn's pretty cool. What if we used him?
Yep.
What if we brought him in? It's like, no, you already told us that stuff doesn't count anymore. But they're cherry picking from it. It's just lazy.
I forget the actual press release around that too. And I do want to say this, like, there are a lot of those novels that were released where before the contents of the book, they specifically call out this is not part of the canonical Star Wars universe. There's a lot of books with that that preface the book. But I totally see your point, Pat. It's just, and I think it all stems from this frustration with just the laziness of these producers, of the laziness of these writers, because we all care very deeply for this character, and just to see that laziness manifest into insulting film work, it really is frustrating.
I mean, I'll bring it up again. One of my problems with Rogue One is I remember the original story of how the Death Star plans got stolen. If you've ever played the game Shadows of the Empire, the
classic
character
game.
Kyle Katarn.
Mhm.
I remember he's the one that stole the Death Star plan. So then when I saw Rogue One, I'm
Mhm.
like, well, this is less interesting than that to me. But we'll get to that film next year when we cover it for Star Wars Day.
I have a small list of just like prequel origin films that did pretty terribly. There are a couple films that come to mind where I think follow very similar structures to this. Pat, I know you've seen this. Adam, did you ever watch The Many Saints of Newark?
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's very similar, right? Like there's no actual plot.
Fan service.
Literally,
Yep,
it's just
yeah.
all fan service.
Yep.
Which is
That's it.
insane. Like that's insane. Because it's also insane to me because Many Saints of Newark came much after this film.
Right, you
So I
saw
don't
how
know-
badly this did, and you were like,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, we can follow the structure. We can not have a plot.
Who needs a plot when you shove in all these references that Tony talked about once or twice during the
Yeah.
series, right? So let's just do it there.
And it's still just as insulting and boring and ineffective.
And it also, Han had just died too, right? Like we just wrapped up Han's story in The Force
Yeah.
Awakens.
Talk
about
about
Right.
jarring. That's very jarring.
Yeah, so he just dies, and then 2 years later, we're getting his origin story. Like, you can make the argument that a lot of the hardcorest fans, that's right, hardcorest fans, are still coming to grips with the loss of Han, but also, right, like, to me, I hated The Force Awakens for a variety of reasons, but I didn't hate that Han was killed by his own son, right? Like, it was an interesting choice, but I didn't hate that. I thought his story wrapped up well. And then you have to like do this for what reason? Like maybe that could have come before. I don't know. The timing of it all is just very strange.
I don't think that you're the only one that's also observed that. Just the release timeline was very strange. And also during large, it's not at D23, but there are the Star Wars specific events where, studio heads talk about the different projects coming out. And so many films, including Solo, were talked about for, to hype up more Star Wars hype and release. And there's so much online about this, but just like how mishandled not only release schedules are, but just how mishandled films and TV were for the Star Wars franchise. And really just changing up expectations for what is TV versus film, and then again mishandling both, especially. and I think you see a bit of that with the upcoming Mandalorian film, which people just perceive it as, isn't that just going to be Mandalorian season 5?
Yes.
And that is
It
part
is,
of that.
yeah.
And that's basically a symptom of that, of not properly creating TV, not properly creating film. The one film that is a holdover from the Kathleen Kennedy era that is still set to release, I think in 2028. I'm stoked about it just because I really like Ryan Gosling, but Starfighter is still set to release. We'll see what happens, but yeah, it really is baffling just how the release schedule and mishandling over the years.
I mean, I'm both a sucker and a glutton for punishment, so I am going to go see that, but my hopes are not that high for it, because even with characters that aren't massive parts of the canon, right? Like you look at what they did with Lando Calrissian in Solo, right? Like they can't even handle non-major characters. They can't handle original characters. There's just, I don't want to say no talent, because that's not what I mean, but it's just like, it's just so phoned in lately. All of Star Wars is very phoned in.
It's just rudderless. I just don't. Star Trek has the same issue under Paramount, where like no one knows what they're doing with it, including them.
Yeah, it feels like lack of care and effort, and it's strange choice of words, because yes, there's millions of dollars going into the production, but I think the lack of effort comes to the decisions made of what to be put out. Because yes, of course, like people love Han Solo, people do love these different characters, but instead of telling new stories, compelling stories, strong stories, it's just very safe things that don't actually say anything strong. To me, it's the equivalent of, instead of, you're saying you're going to make dinner for someone, but instead of actually preparing a meal and preparing all the ingredients, you just microwave something for them. That's what it feels like for me.
We don't learn anything new about Han, I don't think,
No.
in this. We do, getting back to Lando for a minute, and Pat, I want to talk about this. We learn something new about Lando.
Save it for the cast part. Oh my god.
Oh, Lando. Donald Glover.
Moving through the rest of the story. I said this is a tribute band because they're just playing the greatest hits. That's what they were trying to do. We didn't need to see all the greatest hits. It does a very similar thing. Remember at Revenge of the Sith when George Lucas for whatever reason, he stupidly felt the need to just show C-3PO and R2-D2 on the blockade runner. It's like, so they're just going to be on this ship for the next 20 years? Really?
Sure.
So this movie does a very similar thing where they're trying to stitch this together to the beginning of the New Hope. And they didn't need to do that because 10 years separated the two. So they were cramming all of Han Solo's lifetime milestones into this 1 week, including, I groaned a couple different points through this film, but when he gets his last name from the Imperial recruiting officer,
come on,
that is when the film hit rock bottom for me.
Nice and early too, huh, Pat? That's like in the first 20 minutes.
I paused the film, stared at the screen for a few seconds. I rewound it. I'm like, no, I obviously didn't understand. I misheard that there's no way that just happened. But yeah, he gets his name because he apparently doesn't have a name, and an Imperial recruiting officer just gives it to him. But he also later mentions his father. So it's like, did your father not have a name either?
He might as well should have just responded, yeah, my name is, my last name is Solo, a Star Wars movie.
You look, people may like this movie, but that is objectively bad storytelling.
That's horrible. It's like, you look at it back in The Godfather, right? Vito Andolini from Corleone. That's based on historical fact. That is what happened.
That made sense.
Yep. People came over from Ellis Island. That's what happened. This is, first of all, his name Han Solo, even way back at A New Hope, is lazy naming. Han Solo, the mercenary who's out for money. Fine, George Lucas. Whatever you say, man.
Right.
But and then you double down, and this is how he got his name. It's awful. It's bad.
Out of all the choices, it's like they went with that. Really?
Right. Again, this is a writer who has a pedigree, who is not some hack they found on the street, or maybe it was, and they just let the Kazdans put their name on it.
This is the guy that wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark.
How are you the same person? But that's it. That's such a good example of bad, not lazy, bad writing.
Yeah,
bad.
That is
writing.
bad writing.
It's the kind of thing. I think Anton, maybe you said this, right? They in screenwriting classes, that's the kind of example they give to teach you what not to do.
Right.
As a writer, right? Crystal clear that. But maybe it was outweighed by, they were like, hey, it would be cool if we showed how he got his name. All right, I guess, check that box. But
did we need to see how he got his name? No.
He could have called himself Han Solo.
It also gives him no agency. He's a character. This is supposed to be his movie. He has no agency. He just stumbles around in this story. He doesn't really make any decisions himself.
He gets given his name. He gets given the plan on how to get out. He gets given his blaster. He technically gets given the Falcon, right?
He meets Chewie.
He gets sent down into the depths to hit Chewie, right? He doesn't go find Chewie and rescue.
That's true.
Per that the EU origin story, much better, right? That's a really good point, Pat. Things happen to him over and over in the movie. He's like a passive watcher of his own life.
Yeah, it's less Han Solo than we're on the Han Solo ride and we're actually in the main character seat the whole time.
Right. We feel more like the main character sometimes in that.
I also groaned when Beckett puts on the same disguise that Lando wears in Return of the Jedi when he's undercover at Jabba's palace. I groaned when that happened.
It's quite silly. Quite silly.
It's just exactly the kind of dumbass fan service that this series has just devolved into. What if we put him in the same thing from Return of the Jedi?
So people in the movie theater point at the screen and go, look at that!
Yeah. And then I guess we can just talk about it now. I mean, the Darth Maul cameo at the end, that was the other
Why?
rock bottom moment. Just in case you weren't sure about who he was, he takes out his lightsaber and ignites it. Just in case.
So it makes no sense also because they're right in the middle of the sequel series. And I want to remember where they were in the Rebels series, but even then, tie a Darth Maul revival to the Rebels clone series, because if you do that, it's going to be really confusing because I don't think it had the fan base to really warrant it for a major mass audience film. It's just going to leave people confused. And
didn't he die?
By the way, he did die. He died in the Phantom Menace. He died. Don't even get me started on that. He died. He died in that film.
I mean, he only got cut in half. Can you survive that? I'm pretty sure you can.
George Lucas did not intend for him to survive that. That's all I need to know. He got revived in the Clone Wars series, right? Which I didn't like that.
He had a spider half body.
Yeah.
But then eventually he got completely
back to regular.
Yeah, back to regular.
Yeah.
He had regular legs.
Do we even count this at this point? Like, does this even count as Star Wars at this point?
Solo?
Does any of this?
In
this canon,
yeah.
Do we count the Rings of Power as Lord of the Rings? I don't.
No, I don't.
What's the difference between Rings of Power and this crap?
They're both very unenjoyable, so it's
both
really
giant
hard.
Waste of money.
I think I think that's where it's a really interesting point you make, Pat, about did we really need to know Han Solo's last name and the origin of it? No, we didn't. We really didn't. But I know there have been examples over the years where I've gotten something from a film and I thought, I didn't know I needed this in my life. I like this.
Right.
But it's all about execution. And instead of putting together something good, it just falls flat. And that just makes it taste that much more terrible.
I agree with you that occasionally we will get stuff like that works. But I think in general, with storytelling, whether it be in books, in film, in shows, in whatever, less is more. Yeah. When you're left wanting more and you're left wondering about something, I much prefer that to a deluge of information that doesn't really benefit anybody. And this has happened to, I think, Star Wars in general. Wikipedia is one of the worst things to ever happen to Star Wars. Like, apparently the trash compactor monster on the Death Star in A New Hope has his own Wikipedia page.
Yeah, and his name's Meg.
Why? Exactly. Why? It doesn't need it. All you needed to know, remember when you watched that movie as a kid, you're like, whoa, there's a monster in the trash compactor.
I wonder what it looks like underneath the water.
And that's all you needed to know.
Yep.
And, I'm just glad that they answered what the Force is. Midichlorians.
Thank God. We think it's biological. Now I can sleep at night.
I remember that scene vividly from A New Hope where Obi-Wan explains that to Luke. Like, there's millions of little things float around in your bloodstream. Yeah. They're called midichlorians.
Oh, I'm trying to think if there's anything like I haven't talked about in this story, right, that gave me like significant heartburn when I was watching it.
There's more. We haven't gotten to all
there's
of it.
Like the half-assed double-crossing attempts, like just like uninteresting plot twists that you saw coming miles and miles away. Like, again, going back to what I was saying before, that there's nothing for me to sink my teeth into and say, like, well, at least there was blah. Oh, I got one more. Dryden Voss's weapons, I thought were really cool. Those little knives, I thought those were fine. That was a fun little thing that he got to use for 18 seconds.
Why didn't Han just shoot him?
Because he had to save that for Beckett.
Because he was hiding behind a bar.
While the girl
It's one of the dumbest scenes, actually, for me. When Voss is hiding, he just, like, ducks behind the bar thing, and Han's like, what do I do? Just shoot him, man.
I'm one of the fastest, most accurate shots in the galaxy. Oh, I wish I could do something.
I still think that this film could have been improved with Nemoidians.
Expand on that.
They're my favorite thing about
the
prequels. Newt Gunray is the best character in the prequels. He's hilarious. He's the real villain of the Phantom Menace. I feel bad for him. He deserves his own. Like, he has just the greatest voice, too. I mean, it's amazing.
Not to get political, Ray, but in one of the funniest posts that I've seen since the most recent military thing started. It was like, oh, now I bet everyone cares about disruptions in trade routes.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Love that.
You didn't tell him about the missing Jedi. Nothing to report until there's something to report.
I will say, story-wise, I still believe this. If you make Han Solo more and more ruthless, it just adds to the legend of Han Solo.
Yeah,
I think
watching
that's cooler.
him getting more violent as the movie goes on, more jaded as the movie goes on, bad things piling up on him. Instead, he keeps escaping and the good things keep happening to him, right? Like, it would have been much more interesting to watch him fall from an altruistic, idealistic, orphan who escapes a terrible life of crime to, well, I guess that's all I can do. So back to crime for me, right? It becomes almost a tragedy then, where he gets redeemed in A New Hope, but we don't get that. Antoine, you should go write for Disney.
That feels nicer, because then it's a huge payoff for A New Hope, because you have multiple characters that truly get hope in their lives.
Sounds like you're getting into the next reason, Anton, the cast.
Oh,
this is getting into the hand. Now there are two of them. I mean, we might not have even gotten to the elephant in the room, which is this is a Han Solo movie and Harrison Ford's not in it. And I'm not going to say that Alden Ehrenreich is a bad actor, but he has the charisma of a baked potato.
Compared to Harrison Ford, who doesn't have the charisma?
That's the problem here.
Yeah,
this was such an insurmountable task for them to ask of any actor.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I think that I can see from the perspective of the studio, because they were going really young, right? With the sequel series, bringing in a lot of new actors. This was probably just a good bet at the time, thinking, hey, this is going to be a good bet to bring in like brand new young actors into the series. And that includes this Ehrenreich guy, which I don't know. It just wasn't good. Like this really he just wasn't good. You
just don't believe that he becomes Harrison Ford. It's not believable.
And I no shade to him as an actor, right? Like, because it's Pat, as you said, it's insurmountable what you need to do. Like, if you were to animate this, like, right, let's say this is an animated movie. If Harrison Ford wasn't voicing Han Solo, I'd have just as big a problem with it, because it's the swagger in the voice. It's the swagger in the motions. It's everything about Harrison Ford that makes Han. Just like Indiana Jones, right? There's no other Indiana Jones. It has to be Harrison Ford.
In the same vein of, if I don't hear Kevin Conroy as Batman, it just feels less like Batman for me.
Yep.
And that isn't trying to insult anyone else trying to voice act for Batman. It's just Kevin Conroy did such an iconic job with it, like in that who Batman is. And that's the same thing for Harrison Ford as Han Solo. So those are impossible shoes to fill, but they decided to put in some guy that felt like kind of the equivalent of like AAA baseball to play in the major leagues.
Yeah. I mean,
kind of like the shortstop for the Yankees right now.
Stop. Don't get me started on the Yankees. Choosing a relatively unknown actor was really the only direction they could have gone in here. Because if you choose somebody who's even vaguely well known, the immediate gut reaction is, that's not Harrison Ford, that's that other guy, right? At least he would have had a chance because he was a relatively unknown actor coming into, or at least for me, right? He was relatively unknown coming into this. And again, he didn't do a bad job. He's not Harrison Ford, and he was doomed from the start.
But it feels inconsistent, because for a young Lando, they go with someone that is pretty established with Donald Glover.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I, by the way, have a very hard time believing that Donald Glover in 10 years becomes Billy D. Williams. But,
he's not that smooth. The voice cadence is not the same.
Nope.
I didn't mind the Lando casting as much, just because, I mean, no offense to Lando, he's not that big of a character in the original trilogy.
Yeah, he's not that important.
Yeah, he's a supporting character. He's a good character, but I've made this point before about Star Wars. Han Solo is one of the biggest characters in the original trilogy, but it's not his story. For me, Star Wars has always been the Skywalker story. That's my primary reason why I don't care for a lot of these other films, is like the Skywalker story was completed in a film called Return of the Jedi. It did not need to be expanded upon. And therefore, I don't think Star Wars really needed to be expanded upon that much. I know most people would disagree with me on that. That's just my take on it, but that's a huge sidebar.
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think that's a wildly offensive take in any way, shape, or form, right?
It's a just because something so monumental and so successful it's hard to follow up. It's hard for anything to follow up to it. That just makes sense. It's actually reminds me of just how not quite as much of a miracle, but it is pretty successful that the Creed series has been able to be so successful, jumping off of the main Rocky Balboa story. But that's another series that's gone on way too long.
But they changed the name of it from Rocky to Creed.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference, right? In why I think Creed works. Because now, okay, well, this is no longer the Rocky Balboa story. This is the story of the sons of Apollo Creed. And you're like, okay, cool. I can get behind this new thing.
If Creed was run by the people that ran Star Wars,
it would be called a Rocky story.
First of all, they would have all of a sudden Apollo Creed would have reappeared on screen, and we'd be like, didn't he get beaten to death by Ivan Drago? And it's like, no, he's alive.
Oh, somehow he returned.
Mr. T's in the room.
I got my hand back.
Mr. T's in the room. The robot from the birthday's in the room.
Oh God, the robot.
Paulie, they CGI Paulie because Paulie's dead.
Can we, now that you've brought up robots, can we talk about it?
Yeah,
we talk about it.
Because I do want to preface and say, like, okay, I think Donald Glover, I know what I said earlier about he can never grow up to be Billy D. Williams, but he really did try. I think he got Lando's mannerisms. I think he got Lando's, cadence and the lilt of his voice. I think he did a lot of really good things with the character and the way that he performed the character. Why was he given a weird robot sex fetish?
He was banging robots.
Oh, no question was he banging robots. Like,
that's weird.
That whole robot character, I don't usually curse on my podcast, but I will here, Anton. What the fuck were they thinking?
I don't get it.
The character? Like
what were they thinking?
Merchandise. Maybe. I don't like.
Maybe,
I honestly
right? But how do you sell that? Like, this is a robot that Lando used to bang,
or like a sassy robot that openly disobeys the orders of people. Like that.
That's not how robots work in the Star Wars universe. It's not
even close.
She's sexed up. She wants to foment revolution. This film would have us believe the Millennium Falcon in the original trilogy is now inhabited. Its computer is now inhabited by this sassy, sexed up, rebellious robot that Lando was in love with. Sorry, I must have missed that scene in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi where Lando talked about that.
Reunites and has sex with the warp drive.
Right.
This is literally one of the reasons people look at this era of Star Wars and just say, why? But
why?
Kathleen Kennedy's reign has ended.
I just cannot imagine they looked at the script with the character voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and they're like, "This is good. This is good stuff here. This is I think worse than Jar Jar Binks."
Well, why put more and more energy into this in the film, less writing a good story? Because this is just the whole sexed up robot thing. It just feels like a gag that went on way too much. If you want to joke about Lando having any affection for a robot, sure, okay, whatever. It shouldn't be played on way too long.
And then the drama of when she dies, like
so out of place.
What
unnecessary?
Okay, this is the other thing where this is just objectively bad storytelling. Why didn't they just do the obvious, which is, remember in The Empire Strikes Back, they arrive at Cloud City, Lando starts hitting on Princess Leia. It's obviously bothering Han, but he's too cool to say anything about it. You can tell he doesn't like that Lando's hitting on Princess Leia. Why wouldn't they do the same thing here with Emilia Clarke's character? Have Lando start hitting on her, make Han clearly uncomfortable with it. You're setting this up for the characters that we've already seen and we're already familiar with in the original trilogy, but this film can't do anything that intelligent.
No. We need Lando on the robots.
No. See, what kids these days want is robot sex. They want the
Robots.
kids with their internet and their Roblox. That's what they want. They want the robots. It's not even bad writing. To me, it's almost like self-insert there. Like Kazdan has like a robot fetish himself, and he's like, well, somebody in this movie's got to have a robot fetish because I have one. So
yeah, there's not enough films with robot sex in it. By damn it, it'll be in the Solo film.
Are we sure that the Kazdans wrote this? I'm not convinced. This is. I honestly cannot believe they wrote something this bad.
I was thinking that too. Like, was this like written by somebody, and the Kazdans were just like, no, we need to put our names on this, or like Kathleen Kennedy was like, well, we can't have an unknown write this, so just I don't know, Kazdans, give them a bunch of money and let them say that they wrote it. Like,
yeah, or you just have George Lucas. Let's blame George Lucas. Lucas on set that day, he was like, well, you could make Lando really want to have sex with a robot.
Great note, George. Great note.
See, originally, when I wrote the character of CP3O, he was originally supposed to be having an affair with R2, but it's not actually shown in the film, and it's like poetry. It rhymes.
It happens off screen.
It happens off screen.
That took me way out of the movie, almost more than anything else, right? You know, that was my rock bottom moment in the movie, was Lando and because at first it was like, oh, Han's making fun of Lando by saying that, and no, Lando genuinely was. And then like that, yeah. So to be specific, the rock bottom moment is the attempt to be emotional and dramatic when the robot gets shot and blows up. Like, are you kidding?
It's baffling.
It's too much. It's like it's just we're not invested. Please just stop with the robot sex line.
Please.
Moving through the rest of the cast, the Woody Harrelson character. I like Woody Harrelson as an actor.
I like Woody.
I think Christian Bale would have been more fun in this role. But it's not even a role. It's not a well-written character. I mean,
no,
it's a standard Woody Harrelson character to me, like a kind of badass, fast-talking outlaw kind of guy.
He's devastated by the loss of his wife, played by Tandy Newton. Just kidding. She's never brought up again.
With
he gets upset for like half a second.
Yeah, half a second.
Half a second. I think Woody did fine with the role because I think Woody Harrelson's a great actor, and he did exactly probably what was written on when he opened his cast script. It was like, I only do this. All right, easy day for me.
Yeah, right. You're gonna pay me how much? There's also a fair amount of, right, speaking of Tandy Newton, right, who, fantastic actress in her own right, throwaway character, right? Jon Favreau, throwaway character.
Super throwaway character.
Like on screen
Amelia Clarke, throwaway character.
Throwaway character.
She is a throwaway, definitely, yeah.
I also don't think Amelia Clarke is a very good actress, but I might be alone.
What does she really do in this film?
Not much. I've seen...
Shows up.
Yeah.
It's really tough because I've seen only a few things with Amelia Clarke in it, and each performance has been very mid to bad. This was on the bad scale. I'm not sure if she's good at acting. Yeah,
I'm not either. It would have been way more interesting if her character actually betrayed Han. That would have been a far more interesting angle for Han's character development. And I think we're skirting around the biggest issue here. Han is the least interesting character in this film.
Yeah. I think we addressed that obliquely when we said, like, things happen to him.
Yeah.
In the film. He just kind of drifts through it. I think you're right.
Yeah, he never learns a thing. He doesn't grow as a character.
He befriends Chewie, which is fun, cool. We knew that already. We knew they were friends.
He has a ship called the Falcon. We knew he made the Kessel Run. Like, we knew.
We get to see the Kessel Run because we have to see everything that Han ever did in his entire life in this film.
All right. I'm thinking we can fix this film if we just completely change the plot. Keep it in the Star Wars universe, but Woody Harrelson's character is married to the robot, and then it's an indecent proposal with Lando.
I would watch that movie. Robot sex or not, I would watch that movie.
Can you imagine it? Lando's like, just one night with your robot.
And they can play a really bastardized version of poker to...
Sabak or Sabic, depending on how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
was that a riff on George Lucas mispronouncing stuff that he creates? Like, he's like, oh yeah, the ice planet Hoth.
Maybe.
That's giving it too much credit, I feel
I was
like.
I'm gonna say no because
That would be too
the
clever.
writing's not good enough to do that.
What does he call Dooku? Duoku?
Duoku.
Doesn't he call him Duoku at one point?
Yeah, I
he
think
definitely
so.
calls Hoth Hoth. He calls Naboo Nebu. He
forgot
calls
how angry I got at the card
lightsabers
scene.
laser swords sometimes in interviews. It's like, well, wait, like you created it, man. Which one is it? Like,
That's just an elaborate troll.
He's just like, I don't know, man.
I'm worth $12 billion. Fuck off.
I do what I want.
Yeah, I like to think that somewhere George Lucas has an insane amount of contempt for his nerdiest fans,
I think he does.
and is just like, I want to fuck with these people.
I think he was generally hurt by the fan reaction to the prequels.
George Lucas, for having created some very amazing things, has probably felt more hate, has probably felt generational hate from fans, and it spans
sure.
across. It spans across when there wasn't even internet, right? So
Yeah,
like that, you have fans yelling into their basements during dial-up,
They were writing him letters.
and to this day, even on podcasts, fans are still complaining about Star Wars. So hey, the
You know
tradition continues.
You know what they say. Nobody hates Star Wars like a Star Wars fan.
yeah, that's the truth.
I actually thought of a great mini season we could do for the pod, Anton. The Misadventures of George Lucas. Here's what we will cover. Howard the Duck,
Of course.
That's yuck.
Captain EO,
That's an interesting one.
Labyrinth,
Different quality.
huge fan.
Willow.
Huge fan.
Also
I'm a
different
huge
quality.
fan of Willow. Tucker, the Man in His Dream. There's a really deep cut for you.
Wow, that is a deep cut.
Radioland Murders, another deep cut.
If we go there, goodness gracious,
I think it'd be a fun season, right?
I think so. If like a mishmatch of,
Mini-season.
I would say it'd be a bit of a mismatch of wanting to throw up, though.
And what's the 2010s animated Disney movie that he produced? Strange Worlds or Strange something?
Strange World. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Strange
Strange
World. I think it was
World,
Strange.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie. I actually am a huge fan of
I haven't
Strange
seen
World.
it, but I know it lost a ton of money for the studio.
It did.
So it's like another misadventure of George Lucas.
Well, that was I think Strange World was like either right before or somehow like during COVID.
It was right after.
I think it was before COVID.
There was something about Strange World.
I just remember it got barely any marketing. I remember
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah, no, I loved Strange World. I thought it was a great.
It was around the
Great
same
film.
era as like Onward.
What year did it come out? Are you looking this up, Adam?
Was it 2021?
I think it's before that.
Ooh,
George
2019.
Lucas was not involved with Strange World, by the way.
Hang on. It's Strange something. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Strange Magic.
It's Strange something. Hang on. We'll figure this out.
Weird Science.
No, I'm not
Strange
making.
World was 2022.
I'm not making this
Okay.
up.
Huh.
Bryce Dallas
Interesting.
Strange
Howard.
Magic came out in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Budget $100 million. It made 13.
Oh,
Wow.
Story by George Lucas, directed by Gary Rydstrom. Hey, we were talking about him, Adam, on the Hercules episode. He's
Yep.
the sound design guy. For whatever
Yep.
reason, they let him direct a movie. That was probably a mistake.
just stick to sound, bro. Stick to sound.
Here's the weird part. It was released under Touchstone.
But it's a Disney. It's a Walt Disney Studios.
It's a Disney
Wow.
movie. It was made by Lucasfilm and ILM, released under Touchstone.
Huh.
Oh, we have to cover this now. This is definitely getting out.
Goodness.
Yeah. This is what the listeners want to hear, what we're going to do in the future.
Listen, Solo is such a nothing burger of a movie that it makes sense that we talk about other movies during
Inevitably.
the.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's-
it was gonna happen. Oh man, Face Off. Okay, just looking at Touchstone films.
I know we have to wrap this up shortly in the interest of time. I do like Paul Bettany. His character is fine.
Jordan Voss was fine. Yeah, like I think
I like
he's
I like
good.
Paul Bettany a lot, so I kind of enjoyed his performance.
I think it's interesting that he texted Ron Howard though and was like, "Hey, can I be in this movie?"
That's exactly
And
what he
ends-
did.
And he ends
So-
up being like one of the better characters. in it.
so are we gonna cover Legion then? Because of Paul Bettany.
Also a great movie.
We could. We
It's
could.
been a while since I've thought of that one.
I have another rock bottom moment for you both.
Okay.
When Emphas Nest removes her helmet on the beach, I
And she's-
burst out laughing.
She's visibly afraid.
She looks like a
looking.
deer in the headlights, this poor ginger girl.
You can tell that this was supposed to be like a, oh my god, it's a girl moment.
Well, that's the thing. Was I supposed to be shocked? Like, was I supposed to know who this was? I was like, who's that?
Right. Again, I think the drama was like, you think that's this badass dude, but like, oh, it's a girl. That's not shocking. That's like, there's tons of female heroes all throughout the Star Wars universe. Why would I be shocked?
I started laughing.
Yeah.
It's she makes a return to the Disney universe in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as one of the lead villains.
As the character?
No, the actress plays a different character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, good for her.
Yeah, good for her. Actually, she's tied to a lot of different Disney projects. Like she just keeps working for Disney, so good for her.
Yeah,
Listen, it's good to know your bread is buttered.
Keep fighting the good fight there. Oh boy,
do we have to give a grade to this one?
We do.
I guess we have to.
We've gone through all the notes. I don't even know what else to add at this point. There is not a single thing I enjoyed about this film.
No.
Well,
like I said, I think the only silver lining was Anton's point that it inspired the storyline in Smuggler's Run, and like I said, I like Dryden Voss's weapons.
Yeah,
that's it.
All the coaxium. Just know you got to get it. That's it.
Got to get it. You got to in. You got in.
You got to refine it quickly, or it'll explode.
Right.
We are now at the segment. Did we like it? Adam, as our guest.
No, no, I didn't like it. I give this grade. I give this a grade of F.
You hated it.
I have to. I hated it. I hated it.
It's offensively bad. It is.
And that was it. Like I felt insulted on almost every time it hit one of the classic, the things that Han talks about. I was like, why? Why is this also in the movie? Like, offensively bad. Offensively bad.
Man, I can go next. This film is insultingly bad. I never want to watch this movie again. It, to me, really does represent everything wrong with studio interference and just not understanding what fans of film or fans of anything nowadays really want. And so I don't want to keep going on and on. If anyone wants to know why we didn't like it or why I didn't like it, I recommend you just listen to the episode again, because that at least is a lot more entertaining than the film itself. So, go check it out. I give this film an F. Your turn, Pat.
I did not see this when it came out. And after watching it a couple times now to prepare for this episode, I am glad I did not pay money to see this. As someone who doesn't even like Star Wars anymore, I mean, this is a total waste of time. Nobody needed it. It doesn't take any real risk. It's bland, it's forgettable, but it really is insulting because it disrespects what came before it. It contradicts the character of Han Solo that we came to know in a number of different ways. Lando as well. The lead actor can't hold a candle to Harrison Ford. I don't think the rest of the cast are really good either. It adds nothing to the Star Wars saga. It actually detracts from it. It lessens and it disrespects the original trilogy. It is malevolently, offensively incompetent. It doesn't look particularly good either, which is a major knock considering the gargantuan budget. I mean, we didn't even talk about that. They spent $300 million to make this steaming pile of shit.
On what?
On what? I mean, I get that. I understand they had to reshoot a lot of it. I'm assuming the original budget that they greenlit was like 200. They probably had to put in another 100 million of reshoots. Whatever, wasn't going to look good to begin with. It's just one bad storytelling decision after another. It is pure member berries. It's a lazy effort, but it's also a kitchen sink effort at the same time because they're trying to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. None of it does. I still can't believe Lawrence Kasdan had a hand in this garbage. This is like actual garbage to me. This should have never been made. Absolutely, this is an F.
The pedigree alone between Ron Howard or Lord Miller and the Kasdans, it's almost unthinkable that this is what came out the other end. Almost unthinkable.
Total waste of time.
Oh boy. Sorry, my third time on the podcast was with this stinker.
No, this was fun to talk about.
This was fun.
God, I hate Star Wars now. I really do. I don't like it.
This was fun to talk about, Adam. It's always great to have you on the show, and There's plenty of great things about film. There are plenty of great films. We can all agree this is not one of them.
No.
All right, then.
Maybe I'll make my kids watch this as a punishment.
Oof.
If they ever talk back, you got to go watch Solo.
Just go watch Solo.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Why Wasn't It Better? Thanks for listening, and see you next time.